a good start to last season. I mean, they were top of the league after probably about
Yeah.
8-10 games, I think it might have been, something like that. And it's funny how fans and clubs' perceptions change of what the expectation should be based on a start to a season or a decent run that they might have, and that can put more pressure on you.
Ipswich have got a corner at Portman Road. John Southall.
They have just before half-time. It's Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0. The corner's going to be swung over to the near post. Liverpool will clear it away from Mo Salah. They've been terrific in this first half, Ipswich. 3 chances, the third of them a moment ago. Here they are again. Cross blocked, goes out for a throw-in. Axel Twanzebe, the header, 10 yards out. Just looped over the crossbar. Home fans are loving this. They've been great. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0.
Mike Marsh, Gareth Ainsworth, is the interim manager for Preston North End. It's a very difficult position for him to be in as well as everybody else.
Yeah, of course. The club expects when we talk about your Burnleys and the lack of, they know where they are. I think Preston, they've been up and around it. The Moyes days were great, and then they flirted with the playoffs. And it's a huge club with huge history. I played there on my league debut for Preston, and a couple of 100 games nearly for them. So I know exactly what football means to that town, and it is tough, And I think the fans, once they turn a little bit, it's very difficult to get them back on side, and as you say, the run of games towards the end of the season was very poor, and Mike, great result in the week, a 2-0 win in the cup, but people do say, it doesn't mean a great deal.
together. So, yes, I predict it's going to be for that reason. There's only one way to go in this Saints and Wigan game, and it will be a physical battle up the middle of the field with two inexperienced combination halfbacks trying to steer it all around. But it sets up for the part of the game that I love when I played, and that's the physicality of it. And make sure that if you tune into any game across the 2 days, then that one come 5 o'clock will be a ripper.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by the strength and the power that some of these lads have, and the hits that they take in certain games is incredible. And Saints and Wigan is always a feisty affair, so looking forward to that one.
We should talk about Kyle Sam Burgess as well. We heard his interview with Matt. It was a great interview earlier this week. First ever Englishman to be inducted into the NRL Hall of Fame. His Warrington 2 points off of the table. They face Leeds in Leeds, looking to build on an impressive win over Wigan.
Yeah, certainly. They're sitting second, I think, or third at the moment. A lot of those teams locked up on 30 points at the top. So for Sam Burgess, obviously brilliant news for the English game that he's been inducted into the NRL Hall of Fame, and rightly so. I mentioned physicality and toughness. Well, that man personifies it, and because of that, because of his influence on the NRL, there's no wonder why the players at Warrington Wolves, Matt, have found another level. They have a facilitator, a leader of men in that organisation, and every one of them are buying into everything he's brought in. And Warrington, it's this part of the year where you look to them and say, can they go on? Can they get to the grand final? And can they lift the championship for the first time in over 60 or so years it is for them? But yeah, look, lots and lots of things happening at both, at the top of the table, around the playoffs. Who's going to sneak in there? Of course, Leeds Rhinos, the Leeds Leopards have an outside chance, a very small outside chance. But for Leeds, this is a huge game. If Leeds win this, it keeps their playoff alive. If they don't, I think sadly for Leeds, in the city of Leeds, it's season over.
Phil, any other strings to your bow? It's always good to learn these things early on. Like, I know I can always come to Andy on racing if I need to.
No, listen, I've followed Wigan for a while. Try and keep a close eye on them. I'm from around the area, Preston way. So, listen, I love the game. Love how intense it is, and how strong they are, and it's a physical sport that I enjoy watching.
So, football, rugby league. Shall I keep you out of the cricket, or?
Yeah, I'm not so clued up on cricket, but I don't mind a bit of golf.
Nice. Oh, well, you and everybody else, yeah. Right, 4th edition of the 100 comes to a conclusion this weekend. We've got the women's and men's final tomorrow. Welsh Fire and Oval Invincibles, women and men. So Welsh Fire women, Oval Invincibles men have already booked their place at Lord's. Who is going to join them? So today's 2 eliminator matches are taking place at the Oval. Ball-by-ball coverage of 5 Sports Extra. Simply put, Henry Moran, semi-finals.
Yeah, essentially, we've if you like, we've had one set of semi-finals in the group stage, and it'll be in an elongated form to get those 2 finalists tomorrow, the Oval Invincibles in the men's competition, the Welsh Fire in the women's competition, and we've got 2 further semi-finals today, if you like, the eliminator matches. First up, the Invincibles women against the London Spirit women under the sunny skies here in South London, and then later on this evening, it's the Birmingham Phoenix men against the Southern Brave men. So easiest way is to look at it like that. We expect a full house. The sun is set to be shining all day, and the 2 women's sides warming up in front of us, and we'll be underway at 2:15.
In the men's game as well, we've got the leading run scorer in the tournament.
Yeah, we've got some outstanding talent on show today. You look at James Vince being that key figure for the Southern Brave. He's an absolutely brilliant competition, but also the likes of Ben Duckett, who will be part of the England Test squad next week. He'll be featuring Liam Livingston as well, and of course Jofra Archer, who's returned to playing in frontline sort of top level cricket this year, has been one of the real high points for the wider English game. I think he'll be part of a Southern Brave fast bowling attack, also featuring Chris Jordan, Timal Mills, so it promises to be a really good day.
Delighted to say we have a real legend of the sport with us, former Southern Brave player, as well as many other things, Charlotte Taylor. Hiya, Charlotte.
Hiya, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. So the women's eliminator, Oval Invincibles against London Spirit. Oval Invincibles, big favourites here?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they've got, double champions sort of speak for themselves. The London Spirit not yet to make a final. So this is their first eliminator, and probably first sniff at the final. So, yeah, it's a big ask for them, but they're 2 really well-matched sides. I mean, in this competition so far, they've won one, Oval have won one, and there's been a tie. So, they probably want to get one over on the Spirit, to be fair, but I think Oval maybe just tipped them at this point.
in the men's, a lot of people fancy Birmingham Phoenix, not just for the eliminator, but for the title.
Yeah, it's hard to look past, isn't it, with the strength and depth that they've got in that Birmingham Phoenix side. But the Southern Brave, they're a force to be reckoned with. Again, they're sort of, they know how to win this competition. And yeah, they've got a really well-rounded side as well. So that'll be a good fixture later. But yeah, the Birmingham have got a point to prove, I think, for themselves.
Henry, do you think you can have a chat about the 100 without asking about where the 100 sits? Is that possible or not?
Oh, it's a relentless conversation. There's nothing that seems to cause more drama and controversy on social media around cricket than mentioning the 100. You can just say that you're attending a game or that there's coverage starting, and you'll get all sorts of debates about where it sits in the schedule and the impact that it has on the wider game. And this is a really crucial year for the competition, because we know that this is the year that the overseas investment is looking at the tournament, and that at the end of this season, that is when, in earnest, these investors will be coming in and looking to get their hands on initially 49% of each of the 8 franchise sides. There's been talk of IPL owners. There was even a rumour that the Ryan Reynolds contingent were looking at the Welsh Fire as well. Whether there's any truth in that remains to be seen. A lot of interest from America too. And so this tournament is going to change next year. We don't know if the teams will be called the same things. We don't know necessarily what the salaries are going to be. So it has been rather a shop window year this year for the competition, and it'll be fascinating to see how this overseas investment not only comes to fruition in terms of how much money is generated in the sales, but also the impact then that will have on the English game more widely going forward.
Which is why, Charlotte, I guess this weekend is so important, because at a time when it needs to be in the shop window because of the men's Euros and because of the Olympics, it hasn't really been there. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's sort of struggled in terms of getting sort of its time on the telly and stuff, but I think it's a good time for it to show today. It's an open weekend, and the packed house today, and I think there'll be lots of eyes on this competition for next year, and that you see that Delhi Capitals have already sort of placed an interest in Hampshire. That's public knowledge now, so it's really exciting to see what could possibly be available for these two teams in front of us in terms of London teams next year. That could be a really exciting prospect for somebody to come and watch.
And one thing I would just add as well in terms of the interest levels and the USP of this tournament has been the fact that you've got the men's and women's franchises so closely aligned, and you get these double-header days that have become such a huge success story for the ECB, albeit that it happened by chance initially in the first year of the competition. So that has been something that overseas investors, we know, really are keen on. The idea they're not just buying a men's franchise or a women's franchise, they're buying the overall package, and that's something I think could be really interesting to see how this all develops.
Thank you very much. Both commentary of those two games on 5 Sports Extra. Oval Invincibles women against London Spirit women first up at 2:15. Second half underway at Portman Road. John Southall.
5 minutes into the second half, Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0, but a really bright start this for Liverpool in the second half. Ipswich just penned inside their own half at the moment. Couple of chances. Salah on the right of the area, his effort through a gaggle of legs was cleared away, and then Luis Diaz cut in from the left-hand side and shot over the bar. And also, Steve, I think we've maybe seen an insight into the mind of Arne Slot at half-time, because he's made a substitution. Gerald Conser's come off and Ibrahima Konate's come on at centre-back. And Mark Warburton, what can we read into that, do you think?
No, I think I didn't see an injury at all there, John. I think we looked at it, Delap was giving him a tough time, especially towards the end of the first half, and he's just made a tactical change there, so fair play to him. But they've got to be careful here at Ipswich. They've got to ride this first 5 or 10 minutes. Liverpool come out of the blocks very, very fast, but looking very sharp. No need to take unnecessary risks, John. We've seen it once already there. Take care of the football and give Liverpool nothing at all.
Yep, Slot not afraid to make a change at half-time. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0.
Second half's getting underway in the Championship, League 1 and League 2 as well. At start at Fratton Park, Portsmouth Luton. Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, a couple of minutes into the second half here. No chances since the break. Big chance this for Pompey on their first Championship home game in 13 seasons. It's going to be a bit backs to the wall, you feel, for Luton Town. And it was Carlton Morris, their captain. He was the one who took one for the team, who was the man who was substituted to allow a goalkeeper on when Thomas Kaminski was sent off. 0-0.
To Pride Park, Derby versus Middlesbrough. Chris Coles.
Derby leading Middlesbrough by 1-0. 4 minutes into the second half. Middlesbrough ended the first half brightly, but Derby have started the second the better. They've had the best chance of it. Ben Osborne, half volley through a crowd of players following a corner, took a couple of ricochets and about 4 or 5 yards wide in the end. Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0.
Third and final early kick-off in the Championship is West Brom against Leeds. Lee Blakeman.
2 minutes gone in the second half, 0-0. West Brom starting the brighter again like they did the first half. Tom Fellows has just gone bursting down the left, got into a good shooting position edge of the area, couldn't get his shot away, and then a Hegham cross from inside the box was deflected behind for a corner. West Brom 0, Leeds 0.
Special day for Bromley in League 2. Do they still lead AFC Wimbledon, Adam Cottier?
They do, Steve. It's a situation where they've still not conceded a Football League goal into the second half here. AFC Wimbledon have started the second 45, the better team. They've fashioned a couple of openings, but Michael Cheek's first half low drive still is the difference between the two teams. Bromley 1, AFC Wimbledon 0.
Other score for you in League 2 is Carlisle 1, Barrow 0. 2 early kick-offs in League 1. Charlton 0, Leyton Orient 0 and Shrewsbury 1, Peterborough 1. You're up to date. Those are all underway into the second half. So it's Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0 at Portman Road in the second half there. We've got Statman Dave, we've got Andy Reid, we've got Phil Jones all with us this afternoon. Ipswich have acquitted themselves really well, Phil, haven't they?
They've got me really pleased with this. I think we spoke about it earlier about getting the right balance between building from the back and mixing it up and going a bit more direct. I think the keeper just before went a bit direct, and then you see a little passage of play through the middle that got them a little chance down the right-hand side. So it looks like they're getting the balance right. They're going to have to suffer in games, of course, especially playing against Liverpool at home, but they're holding their own so far.
In Liam Delap, they've got somebody who's physically capable of really getting hold of the ball and being a real impact up there. I'm interested. Liverpool have had 7 corners in this game, and so far Ipswich have
penalty appeal, John Southall.
Well, you're talking about Liam Delap. He's just gone down in the penalty area. And what's the referee doing here? It's offside. Delap's offside. So they will not be given. But just as you were talking about his physical presence, once again he got himself in a really dangerous position. Liam Delap. Home fans don't like it. The flag is up. No penalty.
I tell you what, I don't know if have you two got a monitor. It was very, very tight, John.
Yeah, just watching it again. Oof. Well, what do you think, Mark?
For me, that's not offside. That's a great one. Well timed. So that's a big call.
Well, they'll look at it, and this will be the first VAR actually of the afternoon, which has been quite refreshing. We haven't needed it so far. VAR are looking for it, checking penalty, possible offside.
Implies
so
it will be a penalty if it's onside, doesn't it?
Yeah, when you look at it from the naked eye, actually they've just stopped it there, so we're probably going to see the line in a minute, aren't we, on the screen in front of us.
It looks tight. That view from us, John, is slightly different. He does look, he could well be a couple of inches offside there.
Well,
waiting for the call. He shouldn't take this long.
It's very, very close. We don't see the lines, do we, for the very, very close ones? Dave's looking at me like it's obviously offside.
Yeah, no penalty, offside. There we go, 0-0.
I think it would have been, Andy. If it had been onside and it was a tiny little fraction in it, I think that would have been a penalty.
I think Delap's done really well. He got his body in between Van Dijk and the ball there, and Van Dijk was trying to get goal side of him so he couldn't take the shot maybe first time, and he just got tangled up. I think he done really, really well there. I'm just interested in the set pieces, and Ipswich have had to defend 7 corners so far, and they've defended them really, really well. Liverpool generally are good from set pieces, and if you keep conceding corners and some of them wide free kicks, eventually something might give. But they've done really well so far.
I love it. So Gareth Ainsworth is doing our match reports and Andy Reid is doing our stats. Perfect.
That's really good. I wanted to add to Andy's stats, obviously really good stats, Andy. But
you're welcome.
Ipswich have contained Liverpool really well. I think one of the numbers that kind of highlights is they've had 1 shot inside the box, Liverpool, in 54 minutes, and that was the Salah block. And I think you're looking at Jacob Greaves, who we've spoken about already. He's won 5 of his 6 duels so far, 5 clearances. Both of those are the most on the pitch, and they're just defending really, really well.
Go on, John.
Well, Diaz has just nudged one over the crossbar. I have to say, when he hit it, he looked offside to me, but the referee's flag stayed down. He got clattered as he hit it over the bar. And again, now look at this, Mark. What do you think? I mean, he looked offside.
He looked to me immediately offside, John. We're just trying to consider a review now.
Well, that's okay, isn't it? And it's just on the left-hand side as the ball comes over. Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's onside.
He's onside.
No, he's onside. Deceptive. Big chance.
Sorry, Mark. I just wanted to chuck in here, Mark, as well. So obviously they're going to appeal for a penalty now, but it reminds me a little bit like one of the Harry Kane ones in the Euros. The ball there has already actually gone. So Diaz has gone down and wants a penalty, but actually he's already flicked the ball over the bar.
Yeah, he's almost had his chance, the opportunity, hasn't he? And now he wants 2 bites of the cake, so to speak. But I'm not sure they're going to look at it.
They will look at it, won't they? I think.
No doubt about that. But it was a big chance for sure.
That's not a penalty for me. I mean, the keeper's got every right to dive down and try and stop the ball. I think the only other thing he can do is just wait there and hope he misses the ball over the bar anyway. So not a pen for me, that, no chance.
Were you saying the same thing in the summer when Harry Kane's won, or were you saying definite penalty?
Absolute stick-on penalty.
I think we're in trouble if that's a penalty.
The Harry Kane one was actually 2 penalties, Andy. That's what they should have given. I'm very much enjoying the versatility of 5 Live Sport this afternoon. Phil, you could probably present if you want to.
No, not up to your level yet.
Okay, no,
yeah, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to say it won't take long. Change for Ipswich, John.
Well, they're not checking for penalty, I don't think either. We just had a substitution as well. Ben Johnson has just come on. Wes Burns has gone off, so that's maybe a little bit of defensive tinker there for Ipswich.
I think it is. It could well go to a 3 with Johnson, Davis being the wing backs. And then you have Wolfenden, Twanzebe and Greaves as the 3 there, John, Morsey and Luongo in front. So we'll have to see how the game develops now, but it looks like a 3 for me.
Yep, eventful start to the second half, but it's still Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0.
5 Live Premier League Sunday back from noon tomorrow. We'll bring you 2 commentaries. Brentford against Crystal Palace at 2 o'clock. 4:30 Chelsea against champions Manchester City. Let's hear from Kyle Walker. He was on the Monday Night Club this week. I asked him whether as champions City feel superior psychologically to their opponents.
Listen, when you're in that dressing room, sometimes you are panicking. You are panicking a little bit because, the last 2 years we've come against a really, really good Arsenal side that have, pushed us right to the wire both times. And prior to that was a very good Liverpool team. Big Six couldn't come into that fold and, disturb our rhythm. But when you do get to them crunch parts of the season and you are breathing down people's neck, you do have a bit of confidence. Of course you do, because you've been here before. You've lived that moment. You've lived the moment when you are chasing a Liverpool down and you go and nick it at Brighton with 1 point to go. You catch Arsenal with a certain number of points to go. We do have that belief in us because we look around the squad and we believe in the depth, we believe in the quality of players that we've got. It's not like I wouldn't say it's an ego, but we've done this now 4 times in a row. This is our trophy to lose, and I can assure you when you're looking down at your arm and you've got that gold badge that no one else has got, it's a good feeling. So hopefully we can go and do it again and make these fans proud.
That's Kyle Walker. Massive chance at Portman Road. John Southall.
Yeah, they've had a couple of chances in quick succession here, Liverpool. Slobosly, McAllister went close, and then Jota just now with a flick header went a fraction wide of the left-hand post.
Yeah, they're riding their luck. There's some desperate challenges going in here. Long range shot there for Szoboszlai before that, but again a big chance from Jota. So they've got to be careful here. He's got to be defensively solid and just ride out this 5-10 minute period.
Yeah, really good chance that for Jota. Best chance of the game for Liverpool. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 0.
Phil, he said, Kyle Walker there, that it isn't an ego about Manchester City, but you know, especially from your first years at Manchester United, when you are that good, you're going to have a bit of that, aren't you? It probably helps.
You absolutely have to have that. You've got to have an arrogance about you, not complacency. Again, there's a balance between going over the line. But listen, they've been top of the league for the last 4 seasons, like you said, and there's huge amount of pressure on that. Everyone's expecting them to, when they're going to slip up, when they're going to fail. And they keep on producing, and I'm sure they'll be right up there again this season.
John Southall.
Ipswich 0, Liverpool 1. It was coming. Salah down the right-hand side, played it into Jota, and he side-footed it into the right-hand corner. Liverpool have taken the lead. Their 3,000 fans on the far side are celebrating. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 1.
What a tremendous goal, John. The movement from Salah went Davis, took him in, took him out again, and then a great way to pass from Alexander Arnold to put him through there. Unselfish to pass it over the finish, but tremendous goal by Liverpool.
So Liverpool and Arne Slot have their first goal of the new season. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 1.
Mark Warburton, there's 2 things. Firstly, I was going to say that is the definition of it's been coming. Secondly, they might have a little look for offside.
Oh, really? I didn't see the offside bit. I thought the movement from Salah was outstanding to allow that pass from Trent, and then, of course, the feed over. But I haven't seen the outside from our review yet.
They sort of did that thing, John, where they paused the camera on the initial pass, not the pass for the assist.
It's not offside. We've restarted play, Steve, so the goal stands. Been given. Liverpool lead.
And it had been coming, Andy.
Yeah, listen, these top teams, when you play against them, they're relentless. They keep coming, and you can put up with it for so long and think Oh, that's what he
almost
looked like
back
he was
in again then with the same routine. Salah to Jota, just ran away from him and through to the keeper, Walton.
I just think with Ipswich now, it's just time to kind of batten down the hatches a little bit, get some men behind the ball, just have a little period where you kind of feel a little bit more secure, because these games can quickly get away from you with the quality that Liverpool they can go 2, 3 and fall really quickly. So, you know, just get everybody behind the ball, just let things settle down again. There's still plenty of time left and they might be able to have a push in the last few minutes.
This could be Ipswich's problem, I think, with the lack of goals maybe. They've not allowed Liverpool to dictate the game, but they've not really created anything themselves as of yet. They've had a half chances here and there. Potentially that could be the downfall this season. Hopefully Sammy Smodics can chip in with a few, but there's only so long you can sit there and press from your shape before you're going to have to commit bodies forward yourselves.
So Ipswich 0, Liverpool 1 as appeals for handball are waved away. We'll come back if anything changes on that, but Liverpool have their first goal in the Premier League under Arne Slot. Much more build-up to come to all of our 3 o'clock kickoffs, and we can start to bring you the team news. Our base is at the Emirates for Arsenal versus Wolves. Ian Dennis.
Well, Arsenal have named the same team that finished their pre-season campaign against Lyon. It means that Havertz starts ahead of Jesus. Partey will start in the midfield. And Calafiori, their Italian international, signed in the summer, is only on the bench alongside Timber, who made that return from injury at the end of last season. As for Wolverhampton Wanderers, they give debuts to Larsson, Norwegian striker, and also to Rodrigo Gomez. Cunha, who injured a hamstring in pre-season, is on the bench for Gary O'Neill's side.
We've had a goal in our feature game in League 2. Bromley AFC Wimbledon. Adam Cottier.
It is Bromley 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. Bromley making quite the introduction to life in the Football League. This time it's Corey Whiteley. Brilliant turn and shot from about 8 yards out into the corner of the net. It all came after a slaloming, driving run forward down the right from Danny Imre. Brilliant goal for Bromley, and Gareth Ainsworth, they have a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and you know, it's been the first 5 minutes of the half, it looked like Wimbledon had a real rollicking in that dressing room. They were really up for it. They were pushing, they were probing. Imre, what a great bit of skill. He beat James Phelan with a little step over, which got him on the outside, and he just kept going and going. The pitch seemed to open up for him, and as it did, he put his cross across. I think, was it Cheek? Just missed it, just behind him, and as you say, Whiteley, what a great finish. And yeah, I think that the fans, as I say, that optimism rather than expectation really helps Bromley get on the ball, do what they want to do. They've got some great players, they've got some great young players, and Andy Woodman's made great use of this loan market. But yeah, fantastic for the new boys, and 2-0 here.
Yeah, having won 2-0 at Harrogate last week on their debut, their first home game, they have a 2-0 lead against AFC Wimbledon Bromley, and they're playing very well.
Ipswich are appealing for a penalty, and again, no dice, John Southall?
Yeah, I don't think they were going to get that one. Leon Delap on the attack again, showing real strength into the penalty area. Went down looking for the penalty, but Mark, I don't think that was a penalty, was it?
No, not at all. Far from it. And as Andy rightly said, they've got to be careful here, Ipswich. That was a lone attack, but they're exposed down their right-hand side. Ben Johnson, I think, needs to sit in more of a 5 and provide some cover for Twanzebe here, John. But right now, Liverpool looking so very dangerous.
Yeah, 2 more changes here for Ipswich. Jack Taylor, Marcus Harness are coming on. Luongo and Chaplin, the 2 going off. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 1.
Let's get some more Premier League team news. Newcastle versus Southampton, another 3 o'clock kickoff. John Bennett.
Hi Steve. For Newcastle, the big question was whether England internationals Kieran Trippier and Anthony Gordon would start after their extended breaks post-Euros. Well, Gordon starts, Trippier's on the bench, new signings Asula and Kelly are also subs. Southampton's first team selection back in the Premier League has a familiar feel from last season. Harwood Bellis and Downs start after joining permanently. 2 new faces, Brereton Diaz and Sugawara also start. Archer is on the bench.
There's an Archer celebration going on right now at Portman Road. John Southall.
And it's from Mo Salah, and it's a long way back now for Ipswich. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2. Szoboszlai played it through to Salah, and he toe-poked it in from about 6 yards out into the bottom left-hand corner. And we said that Ipswich, Mark, just had to hang in there. Well, they haven't.
No, they haven't. They're exposed at the moment, John, and the quality of the midfielders. Szoboszlai on the front foot, stepping in, winning that second ball. Delightful little pass in, and Salah needs no second chance there, but good movement, good quality.
Yeah, just watching that one again, just onside, I think. Lovely little through ball from Szoboszlai, and Mo Salah did the rest, and Liverpool lead at Portman Road by 2-0.
Mohamed Salah's now scored 9 goals in the opening day of the Premier League, which is more than any other player in history, overtaking Alan Shearer, Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney with 8.
You would not dare say that if Alan was still in
I was actually going to say to Alan, look, there's a record that's under threat today, Alan, but I didn't want to mention, obviously it's birthday this week, we want to keep it positive.
Yeah, I think you made the right decision. Another goal in League 2, League 1. So in League 2 it's Carlisle 1, Barrow 0 and Bromley 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. And it's Peterborough who've taken the lead in League 1 at Shrewsbury. They lead by 2 goals to 1. The other early kick-off is still Charlton 0, Leyton Orient 0. Back into the Premier League, Everton versus Brighton. Team news from Maz Faruqi.
Well, new season, same old injury problems for Sean Dyche, Steve. Issues for club captain Seamus Coleman, Nathan Patterson and James Garner mean that Ashley Young starts at the back today, but Jared Branthwaite is also injured, remember. New signing Tim Irogbunham starts as well for Everton. New Brighton signings, Yakuba Minter and Mats Weaver start in manager Fabian Herzl's first Premier League match in charge. He, at 31 years old, is 8 years younger than Ashley Young, 7 years younger as well than one of his starters, James Milner. Way to make us all feel a bit old.
That leaves us with the fourth of our 3 o'clocks. Nottingham Forest against Bournemouth. Pat Murphy.
Key signings for both clubs don't start. For Forest, Nikolai Milenkovic, this is a surprise. A suspension carried over from a booking picked up in a cup match with his last club, Fiorentina, has come to light, and he's therefore suspended. Forest understandably rather hacked off at that, and none of Forest's other summer signings are starting, although 4 of them are on the bench, including Anderson and Silva. And for Bournemouth, the Brazilian striker Ivan Nilsson, he isn't in the squad either. The paperwork hasn't come through in time to play Bournemouth's record signing.
Pat, thank you very much. Right, in the Championship, the early games, let's go back to West Brom versus Leeds at the Hawthorns. Lee Blakeman.
0-0, but both teams have had their first efforts on target since you were last here. For West Brom, Malumbi shooting straight at Meslier from the edge of the area, and for Leeds, a Grueff cross headed by Ampadu, caught by Palmer. Leeds just making a double change. James and Pirro replaced by Rothwell and Aronson. We have got 25 minutes to go. West Brom 0, Leeds 0.
Luton seem to be doing all right with 10 men at Portsmouth. Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, and they've had probably the best chance of the second half. Jordan Clark's through ball found Elijah Adebayo. It was a tight angle and he just couldn't find the target. But at the other end, Portsmouth are forcing. Paddy Lane's just gone narrowly over from 25 yards. Portsmouth 0, Luton 0.
Liverpool are pushing for a third at Portman Road, John.
Yeah, you just fear a bit here for Ipswich. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2. Diaz just went round the goalkeeper but couldn't pull it back as another cross comes in. Cleared away this time by Twanzebe. It is all Liverpool. Ipswich just penned inside their own area at the moment. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2.
At Pride Park, Derby versus Middlesbrough. Chris Coles.
Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0. Middlesbrough continue to press, and they've had the ball in the Derby net. Delano Bergzog, nice cross to find him. Great header into the bottom corner. He looked up, and the offside flag was up on that far side. It is all Middlesbrough, but Derby still have that slender lead. 1-0 they lead, 68 minutes.
A historic day for Bromley in League 2, their first home game in the Football League. Last we heard, they led AFC Wimbledon 2-0. Adam Cottier.
Yeah, they are making quite a start in the Football League under Andy Woodman, playing with real personality again here, as they did in Yorkshire last weekend. The goals in either half from Michael Cheek and Corey Whiteley, 2 excellently taken goals, and they still haven't conceded. And to counter that, Wimbledon have just made a triple substitution and taken off their 2 forward players. Gareth Ainsworth.
Yeah, as you say there, Adam, you know, there's a personality, there's a freedom about the way Bromley play, you know, and it's growing in confidence. You know, these young boys who've played in the non-league, and some of them in the 23s of the clubs they're respectively on loan from, they're really creating, getting the ball down, playing some good stuff. To counter that, Wimbledon look very rigid at the moment. They look very sort of, robotic and putting the 3 subs on. I know Joe Piggott got the winner in midweek in the cup here, so he'll be a threat, obviously. But there's not much answering to these questions Bromley are posing, and definitely deserving their 2-0 win.
Yeah, Bromley in contention now for an early place at the top of League 2. They lead AFC Wimbledon by 2-0.
Thanks both. We've got Statman Dave, Andy Reid, Phil Jones, all with us on 5 Live Sport, all in the studio. We keep you right up to date with what's happening at Portman Road, where Liverpool lead by 2-0. And John Southall, they should have had a third.
It should have been 3. It should have been 3. You'd have backed Mo Salah to score that one inside the penalty area. Weak finish, straight at the keeper mark.
Too easy, John, too comfortable there for Liverpool. Played out from the back, tight passing, intricate passing, worked it through midfield, and again a big chance. You'd expect Mo Salah to score, but right now it's important for Ipswich to be tight here defensively, solid. Otherwise, it could be a painful last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, they've still got themselves 20 minutes to navigate here. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2.
The quality of the movement in behind is absolutely fantastic, and the quality of the balls. I mean, Phil will tell you when you've got a striker kind of coming short and spinning in behind, it's really difficult, Phil, to defend against.
It is. Sometimes you get caught between a rock and a hard place. You're thinking, should I go, should I stay? And eventually you end up doing neither. And the running behind from Salah was frightening. And the little passage of play between him and Szoboszlai was great, and a really good goal.
And then from a forwards, the weight of the pass, I'm thinking about even back to the pass there.
The details.
Just the level, the weight of it, where somebody doesn't even have to break stride. They're just running straight onto it, able to pass or able to finish. It's brilliant. Liverpool have really clicked into gear in this second half. They've played really well.
Mark Warburton, what do you do in this situation if you're Kieran McKenna? Because it is relentless and it is Liverpool, but they've got to try and stem the flow.
Yeah, I think their press has broken down a little bit. Chaplin came off, was a key part of that press in the first half, and we're not seeing quite the same effect here from Taylor. No disrespect to him. Liverpool getting out far too easily from their own defensive third and playing it through midfield comfortably, and as the boys said, the runs are very clever and high quality. But I think Kieran's got to make sure he batten down the hatches, to use Andy's term, get 5 in defence, get Johnson back alongside Twanzebe, because right now he's far too exposed.
So Liverpool comfortable at Portman Road. We very briefly started talking about Chelsea versus Manchester City. We heard from Kyle Walker. Let's do a little bit of Chelsea. I don't think, Dave, I've ever needed you more than around Chelsea, because yet again the numbers are significant. 9 players in the window, 6 sold, a new manager. It is impossible to know what to expect.
It's going to be really, really tough. And just looking at the outfits, obviously they bought like 12 more goalkeepers over the window. But actually breaking down the squad, it's very difficult to pick. You're looking at 3 right backs, 7 centre backs, 2 left backs is probably the only position they've got 2 players there. 9 central midfielders, 4 attacking midfielders, 3 right wingers, 4 left wingers, and 6 strikers. And they basically haven't got a first choice. They're still looking for another striker to bring in.
I would love to go down and watch a week's worth of their training to see what the coach does. If you think about, coach, most game models are probably built around 20 outfield players and 2 or 3 goalkeepers. I mean, what do they do with all the players in the sessions? How do they organise the sessions? How do they get everybody involved? How do they train everybody? I honestly think it's amazing. I mean, we had a Forest at one point where we ended up with a lot of players. We were trying to shift some on, and the organisation of the session became really, really difficult, just to make sure that everybody gets the right amount, and then a lot of the time then you spend too much time talking about the organisation of the session and not the actual content and the detail that you should be going into with these high level players. It's a really difficult situation to manage.
I think you might look at the energy as well, the players who perhaps aren't going to be selected in the squad. How are they training? How is that affecting the players that are starting? You see that a lot these days. So, like I said, there's so many players in the squad. I don't know how you deal with that, but Chelsea have got an interesting season coming up. I don't think anyone can predict the starting 11.
Well, what I will say is there's a hell of a lot of quality there.
Yeah.
Whatever way you pull it together and whatever kind of formation or whatever players go out on that pitch, there's a hell of a lot of quality in that squad.
Yeah, they brought it together really nicely at the end of last season to finish 6th, and then responded by sacking the man who did it. So
wouldn't be Chelsea if they'd done it different, would it?
It's an interesting one actually, Phil, because it's Enzo Maresca again. I don't want to say the man who taught him everything he knows. That's obviously nonsense, but he's clearly learned a lot under Pep Guardiola, and he starts in the Premier League against him.
Yeah, he'll know everything about what Pep's about and the way he likes to play. And it'll be a real test for him. I'm sure I expect City to win the game, but again, it's really difficult to gauge where Chelsea are at with the amount of players they've got, and obviously the new manager coming in and him stamping his authority on the team. So I think we can really make an assumption of Chelsea towards Christmas and see where they're at then.
Having seen his style of play with Leicester probably over the last year or so, I actually think he's got players in the Chelsea squad that will actually fit into that, who will be able to execute the game plan and execute the way he wants to go, with maybe a little bit more quality up in the forward areas that Chelsea have. So if it does click into place, it could be a good season for Chelsea.
I think with when you're looking at that, the central midfield area is a bit of a question mark, because Lavia's come back into the team in pre-season, looked really, really good. So then you're not playing Caicedo or Enzo Fernandez, 2 players that you've spent over 100 million on. So how do you blend that with Cole Palmer and Kunku, Pedro Neto? You know, there's a lot of players there that you fit in. How do you do that? It's a question, even without talking about training. The first 11 is still kind of all over the place.
Yeah, no, absolutely is, and I think that's probably where the game plan needs to be really, really on point. And I think what they need to do is have a game model that flows perfectly well regardless of the personnel, so people can slot into positions and you almost kind of disregard the player to a certain extent, and you have a formation or a kind of a game model that works to a certain style, and it works to a certain where people are in positions and you're not necessarily worried about the player. So anybody can flip in. It can be Lavia, it can be Casado coming back in, it can be Enzo coming back in, and they can all fulfil that role that they're asked in that. And then what that'll do, it'll free up then some space, and it'll free up some some of them pockets for Cole Palmer and for them people higher up the pitch.
Dave, you're the fantasy football expert. How long do you have to be on the pitch to get a clean sheet?
60 minutes, isn't it, Steve?
Oh, so Trent Alexander-Arnold will be fine, John Southall.
Yep, he's just departed. Oh, here comes, that's a lovely ball through to Diaz, just on the edge of the penalty area. Plays it into McAllister, can't quite bring it into his feet, and it's cleared away with relief from Ipswich Town. Yeah, so he has come off. Conor Bradley's come on, and we've also seen Sammy Smodics come on for Ipswich Town to make his debut. 27 goals for Blackburn last season, played in the League Cup on Tuesday night for Blackburn, and here he is now playing Liverpool in the Premier League. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2.
Thank you very much, guys. And it's still 0 in that game in the Championship between West Brom and Leeds as well. In League One, it's Charlton 0, Leyton Orient 0, Shrewsbury 1, Peterborough 2, Bromley 2, AFC Wimbledon 0, Carlisle 1, Barrow 0. The other early kickoffs in the Championship, still Portsmouth 0, Luton 0, and Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0. Let's go back to the Emirates. That's where our base for commentary is at 3 o'clock. Arsenal versus Wolves with Ian Dennis. Paul Robinson is alongside him. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, Steve.
A simple and difficult question all at the same time. Have Arsenal done enough to turn second into first?
Well, they were close enough last year, weren't they? And you would think that they're going to be there and ready if Manchester City are to slip up this season. You look at the additions that they've had with Calafiori. I think that's a great signing for them. Whether they bring anybody else in between now and the end of the window, if there's any trading to be done. But I think he's pleased with his squad. I think he was pleased with what they did last season. And I think it was very, very fine margins what stopped them beating Manchester City. Listen, we're going to say it, we say it every season. Anybody who finishes above Manchester City will win the league. And Arsenal at the moment, the squad that they've got, the quality that they've got, they look ready to do that.
Do you think that's true this season as well, Andy?
I think so. I had down on my notes there for me with Man City, it's just business as usual. You know, so they're going to be what they're going to be, and it has to be somebody who's going to topple them is going to win it. And my thing about Arsenal is that getting over that initial hurdle, not the first title. Obviously they've won titles before, but I'm on about the Arteta era. Can they get that first one? They've come so close 2 years. Last year, not last year's season before, they kind of crumbled a little bit towards the end, went a lot closer then again this year. Can they get over the line? And that's going to be the big question mark that surrounds them.
Phil, centre-backs union here. Is there a better partnership in the Premier League than Saliba and Gabriel?
Possibly not. I think those two were terrific last season. Not just defensively, but the sound on the ball, passes through the lines. The real spine of the team. But I think going back to the point of do Arsenal pit Man City this season? I'm not so sure. I still think City will be up there and probably go on to win it. But I do expect to Arsenal to push them really close again.
Paul, I suppose the thing with City is, we've been talking about Liverpool and, what difference does it make when you've got Van Dijk and Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold all coming in to the final years of their contract. Does the same not apply to Manchester City with Pep Guardiola? He might stay. He's kind of not said yes and he's not said no, but it is his last year.
Yeah, you're right. You're coming into possibly a transitional time for Manchester City in the next 12, 18 months. You look at the uncertainty of Pep's future. You look at the talk that's had about Kevin De Bruyne this summer. You look at the talk around the goalkeeper Ederson. And you would see it's a generational thing. Maybe an era is coming to an end. I mean, he's been the model of consistency, Pep, hasn't he? He's rejuvenated that squad every year. He's brought a couple of players in. He's let players go at a time where you maybe thought, are they wise to sell him? Like Gundogan and others that he's let go. But he's brought players in that have strengthened that squad year on, year out. You touch there on Chelsea, the scattergun approach that they've had to signings. Manchester City and Arsenal of late have been the model of consistency. consistency regards the squad. They freshen it up, but like you rightly say, other teams like Arsenal will be looking at Manchester City and saying, look, Pep's not going to be around forever. De Bruyne's not going to be there for long. Edison may go. Rodri, how long's he got left? So there is a time of change coming at Manchester City, and it's how they deal with it.
The cameras at Portman Road are focused on Calvin Phillips, and that's because Ipswich captain is down with an injury, John.
Yeah, that's right. Sam Morsey has gone down, and obviously Calvin Phillips would be in that position if he were to come on. He can't, because they've made all 5 subs today, but it looks like he's okay. There was a bit of concern, Mark Warburton, when he went down, because he is such an important player for them.
Yeah, absolutely. His impact is there for all to see, John. So a lot of concerned faces on the bench, but hopefully, fingers crossed, he's okay here.
Had a chance for, we thought was a chance for Ipswich. Ali Al-Hamidi was through on goal on his left foot, just lacked conviction, the finish. The flag was up though for offside, but Sam Morsey is up. He'll go off and he'll come back on in about 30 seconds time, so he's okay. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2, 9 minutes to play.
So we've covered off both Manchester City and Chelsea. Let's focus in on Arsenal against Wolves, which is the commentary game at 3. Paul, Alan Shearer was on with us earlier. He thinks Arsenal are going to win the league, and he said the thing that would make him more decisive is if they were to sign a striker. It sort of feels like they probably won't, though, and maybe their interest is in other parts of the pitch.
There's been talk of them signing a striker for the last 12-18 months, isn't there? They've been linked with a lot of strikers around Europe. Osimhen, Ivan Toney, the links get stronger and then they just seem to fizzle out and disappear. You look at Manchester City, though, they won the league with a false 9, playing without a number 9. Then the season after, they go and sign Erling Haaland, score goals a different way and win the league again. So there's an argument for both, but you saw Arsenal last year, you saw the amount of goals that they scored. Defensively, they seem to have it right with Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori coming in and David Raya in goal. That quartet there, you would suggest that defensively they're going to be strong. And going forward, they didn't have a problem. If they do sign a number 9, will it change the way that they play? It'll be interesting to watch between now and the end of the window what they do. I don't suspect he will be too disappointed if the window closes and they haven't got one.
I think Havertz was brilliant last season. I think he had an incredible season. I think he linked really well. If you're an Arsenal fan, I'm just looking at the team here, and you're looking at Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, and Havertz. Like that's exciting, isn't it? That get you to the edge of your seat where you see just different types of players. Odegaard with his technical ability, getting into the pockets, forward passing, arriving in the box. Saka 1v1s, Havertz taking up like really clever positions. Martinelli with his kind of out and out pace and running in behind as well. It's really, really exciting in the top end of the pitch for them. And like we spoke about, it potentially is the best defensive partnership, isn't it? The best centre back pairing in the league, them two. They can play a really, really high line because both of them are so quick, so they can afford to jump in and they don't really get done in behind too much. It allows you to kind of narrow up the gaps in the pitch and go after teams really, really high up the pitch.
I think on top of that, the signing of Calafiori gives them an option to play maybe someone that could step from centre-back into midfield. They didn't really have that option last season, and he's a player that created a lot of opportunities for Bologna with his movement off the ball after getting into that zone. But he also finished the season with 5 assists, and some of them were fantastic, carrying out from the back, being involved in the play, then looking for through balls. And that's a different option again. And I suppose that's the real strength of Arsenal this season. And defensively, with Timber as well, Zinchenko, Ben White, they can do so many different things in build-up.
I think that's a really good option, especially in them games at home. When you're going to dominate possession and you want somebody up in them, they will be probably on the 3/4 line in the opposition's half when they pin teams in. And if you've got a centre back who can play through balls, he can bring the fullbacks into play, can slip people into the 9. I think it brings a nice dimension to it. Definitely.
I think I agree with the pace that they've got at the back. It allows them to go man for man at the back and not be frightened of anything in behind them. And ultimately they can go and press really high and suffocate teams, and that's exactly what they did last year at the Emirates.
Jonesy, do you think they'll play Calafiori eventually when he comes into the side as a left back or an inverted midfielder, as we say, like an inverted fullback? Do you think that's an option for him as well?
I think it's a possibility. I don't think they've signed him just to sit on the bench. He's going to play his part, but I think the 2 main centre halves will potentially be the 2 that did so well last year.
The only point I would make to that is, for me, Zinchenko was one of the best at doing that inverted fullback role. I think he does it really well when he drops in and makes an extra midfielder. So I think it'd be really difficult to take him out of that, because I think he's a massive part to how they build.
Just on Wolves, you sort of got a feel, Phil, I think, for Gary O'Neill, haven't you? I mean, they come into the season and, they've got a couple of new players, but having lost Max Kilman to West Ham and lost Pedro Neto as well, those are big players to replace.
Yeah, I look at Wolves and I do fear for them a little bit this season. Gary O'Neill did an incredible job at Bournemouth, came into Wolves last season, implemented his style and the way he wanted to play. It's a difficult place to play, is Molineux. They make it tough to go and pick points up there, but I'm just not sure if they have enough this season. I think there possibly will be 3 other teams that will be worse off than them, which might do them a favour. But it'll be interesting to see how they get on.
I think as well, with the form at the back end of last season, they had 1 win in the last 10 Premier League games. They've lost 2 of their best players I mentioned there. One player maybe to watch out for this season, Rodrigo Gomez, was on loan at Estoril last season in the Portuguese league. They finished 13th. We finished with 7 goals and 7 assists. Looked quite good in pre-season, quite dynamic coming off the left flank. They do need more signings though. You look at the centre-back line especially, there isn't really anyone apart from Dawson that you could be like guaranteed going to be decent in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think losing Max Kilman was a huge blow for them, and I don't think they've managed to replace him. As you said before, Cunha is out injured, who was terrific in the first game of last season at Old Trafford. They've got some problems that they need to address, but
I still think they've got some good players, and I think if they get their best 11 out on the pitch, then I think their best 11 will be competitive. But if they pick up a few injuries at some point of the season, which inevitably they will, it could be a struggle for them then.
Yeah, Jørgen Strand Larsen, their new striker, is an interesting one as well. 6'4", absolutely massive. Got him from Celta Vigo in the summer. Some more to come on Arsenal Wolves. That's our base at 3 o'clock. Full commentary from there in the regular goal service. Of course, at 5:30, following Sports Report, will be at the London Stadium for West Ham against Aston Villa. That's where we find correspondent John Murray. Off we go again then, John.
Hello, Steve. Yes, I've just walked across from the shopping centre through the Queen Elizabeth II Olympic Park, which was in absolute high summer. It was like a festival scene going out there, all sorts of things going on, and I am in my seat already. And I hope they are testing the London Stadium loudspeakers at the moment, so I hope I'm not going to get drowned out.
I think actually, if I were to take Jørgen Strand Larsen, who I've just mentioned, West Ham's new signing Nicholas Füllkrug, and you, I still think you'd be the tallest, John.
I think I would probably just edge that.
But only just.
Only just. Yeah. And I think this is going to be a challenge today when the team news comes out, and we can now bring you the team news. I don't know whether you've said this today. We can bring you the team news now 1 hour 15 minutes before Premier League matches instead of an hour before. And I think this is going to be quite a test today, because both West Ham and Aston Villa have been very active in the transfer market, whether it's Nicholas Füllkrug or Max Kilman or whoever it happens to be. Both of them, I reckon, with my rudimentary mathematics, I reckon both Villa and West Ham have spent something in the region of £135 million on new players. So that I think that very much is a sign of their ambitions.
Phil, give us a bit of insight into Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Of course, you were with for many years at Manchester United. He's at West Ham now.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously well documented that he's got. I think I've heard it loads of times. He's got to be the best 1v1 defender I've ever seen. He's frightening. Nothing will get past him. I think the way potentially you play against Aaron is coming short and sucking him out and playing it round him. But a tremendous player, and I hope he does well at West Ham. He's a great lad, and yeah, it's a great signing for them. And I think we just touched on before Nicholas Füllkrug as well. What a signing that is. He's a goal scorer. He knows where the back of the net is, and he'll be influential for West Ham for sure this season.
I think the interesting side with him is how does Lopetegui play him in that sense. His Sevilla team, the last sort of season, he had a full season where they dominated possession, had third most possession in the league, but they created, in terms of expected goals, they ranked around 11th in the league, so they have a lot of possession but didn't do much with it. Füllkrug's a player that you want to hit. You want to hit early, you want to get him involved in the play, you want him to be involved. In terms of goal creating actions in the Champions League last season, he was second, so you just want to get him involved, and I don't know whether it's the right style for him as a player.
Yeah. First practice of I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles in the background. I have heard some West Ham fans are a bit unhappy at the minute because of season ticket prices and that kind of thing.
Well, they're not the only ones.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Up and down the country, that's the case.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think there might be quite vocal about it today as well. They might be vocal about a lot of things. I mean, we've mentioned a couple of the new signings, John. We've mentioned Kilman and Fulkrug and Wan-Bissaka. And Sirencio Somerville from Leeds as well, player of the season in the Championship.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously it is a step up for him, but highly rated. They are that convinced on him that they've spent £25 million on him. Did well last season, 21 goals for Leeds. Obviously, they got to the playoff final. Whether he'll be in the team today, I'm not sure. And I think the other thing to mention is as well, great favourite here, Lucas Paquetá. There remains over him this charge which he strenuously denies, that he's breached the betting rules, which is an investigation that is going to carry on during the course of the season. So that will resolve itself at some stage. But I guess what they're thinking of, Somerville is potentially someone they think that they might get ready just in case Paquetá, is not available for a period of time.
I think what they do have is a top coach. I know sometimes he can rub people up the wrong way, but he's not there to make friends, which I quite like. But he's proven time and time again the level that he's been at with the signings that they've made. Again, West Ham would be, if I was a West Ham fan, I would be really excited about the season ahead, and maybe wait till the end of the season before they complain about the season ticket prices, because it could be a good one for them.
Some of them are eye-watering now. There are eye-watering amounts of money though.
Well, my biggest thing about buying a season ticket in the London Stadium is I just don't think it's very conducive to being. Obviously, it's not built for a football stadium. Some of the seats are absolutely miles away. So I'd be more bothered about the actual quality of the seat than that you were paying for in the stadium than what you see.
It's a completely different experience to Upton Park,
isn't it? But it is. I used to love going to Upton Park. It was one of them old school grounds that the atmosphere was right on top. It was brilliant atmosphere, especially under the lights. And
I tend to agree with you on that one. It was really intense at Upton Park and feisty affair, and the fans were on top of you. But I don't get that impression at the ground they're at now.
Yeah. In my experience, when they do get it going here, and they do play well, and they've had some very notable wins against big teams, they can actually get the atmosphere going inside this stadium. But that was one of the issues, wasn't it, last season, David Moyes last season, that they wanted, like again so many sets of supporters, they wanted to see winning football and they want to see attractive football at West Ham.
A couple of goals in League One, both for Peterborough, both for Joel Randall. So it's now Shrewsbury 1, Peterborough 4 inside the final stages there. I thought, Adam Cottier, we had another goal at Bromley, but not quite.
Yeah, Bromley thought they had a third, another forward burst into the penalty area. Cross came in from the right-hand side. It was bundled into the net by Jude Arthurs, but the referee, Will Finney, disallowed it for a handball. But Bromley are heading towards making it 2 wins from 2 on their Football League debut. They lead AFC Wimbledon by 2-0, and we're in stoppage time.
Back to the London Stadium, on to Aston Villa then, John Murray. I mean, I suppose the big news is replacing Douglas Luiz with Amadou Onana.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do in the middle of the field. So they spent 50 million on him after Douglas Luiz went off to Juventus for actually not far short of that. But again, a string of interesting signings, I think, from Aston Villa. Ross Barkley's ended up at Villa after he did very well in that kind of position for the most part for Luton last season, and also young players as well, like Ian Matson coming in, who was with Borussia Dortmund last season on loan from Chelsea. Jaden Philogene come back to the club. Samuel Illing Jr., another England under-21 international, who they have brought in from Juventus. And that's not it. Again, a little bit like West Ham after finishing in 4th last season. I think that's quite an indicator that they intend to, give it a go on all fronts when they'll be back in the Champions League, which I think will be one of the stories of this season.
It's going to be interesting to see how they manage that squad and are they able to fight on both them fronts. I mean, we've seen probably Newcastle last year is a perfect example of how difficult it is to go and play in them European games and the amount of energy that it takes from you, and and playing against the top teams around Europe and then coming back and being able to reproduce them in the Premier League.
But Emery Andy's got the experience of doing that, hasn't he? In the past, he knows what you need to have.
Yeah, I mean, in this game today, I believe you've got two of the best coaches in the Premier League. You know, I really do. I really rate Emery. I think the way he sets his teams up, I think tactically he's absolutely spot on. So I think that could be an interesting one. I'll just probably, if you don't mind, just ask Phil on the Champions League ones, and then getting yourself ready after the height of the Champions League to go and play again on the Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to make that point as well about the Newcastle one last season. Obviously, when they started in the Champions League, which was massive for the club, and the big games against PSG, it almost took so much energy out of them that, you know, unfortunately the results in the league didn't match up to that, and ultimately they didn't finish in probably the position they would have liked. So it'll be interesting this season with Aston Villa. Obviously they made some good new signings, but with the Champions League football, I tend to agree with you, Andy, that it'll be difficult for them. And I know you've got a great manager in Emery, but, you know, a few injuries here and there. It'll be interesting to see how they cope with the Champions League and obviously the league.
I wonder if that kind of underlines, Phil, what an important signing Ross Barkley might be as well, your former England teammate. He's still I say only 30. It's because he's been around for so long, because he was so good so young. And then obviously his career probably didn't go down the route that he would have wanted it to. But he's back at a really big club now. I'm sure there are reasons why Luton couldn't ask for more than £5 million for him. That's nothing on them. But that is nothing for a player who can do what he can do.
It's a steal. I'm pleased for Ross. I think he's, he started his career off at Everton, really talented player, in the England squad with me. For whatever reason and one way or another, it didn't quite work out for him at Chelsea. But what a story. He's reinvented himself. He's gone to Luton. He's impressed. He's dominated games. He's so strong on the ball. He manipulates it really well. Technically very good. And he's deserved his move to Villa, and I think he'll be a terrific signing for them.
I think he looked really fit last season. You know, I looked at him and he was still running, into the box and arriving late in the box in the 85th, 86th minute, and he was still dominating games. He was still getting on the ball, and I think if you couple that with the ability that he's got, it is no surprise. It could be one of the signings. You know, if one of the signs of the season, if you consider the amount that they paid for him.
I think when you look at Aston Villa, they've done well to really reinforce their midfield as well, with Barkley, with Barrenechea from Juve, with Onana as well. And I think that was an area maybe where they would have been like Newcastle, because you looked at that Newcastle squad last season, brilliant first 11, but then the players that come in after that is a little bit of a drop down. I think Villa, across their midfield now are probably solid, across the defence are pretty good. The one question mark would be Ollie Watkins. There's not really anyone in the squad that could step up and replace those goals.
Yeah, and John, we don't actually know if we'll see him today.
No, we don't. And I think the other interesting point is John Duran, the 20-year-old who got 8 goals during the course of last season, the Colombian. He wanted to join West Ham this summer. So there's been a bit of a disagreement about that. The clubs couldn't agree a fee. So I don't know whether we'll see him today either or not.
Thank you very much, John. Correspondent John Murray at the London Stadium. Full commentary, 5:30 of West Ham versus Aston Villa into the closing stages at Portman Road. John Southall.
Yep, Liverpool heading for their first win, and there is the full-time whistle. 8 minutes of added time is over, and it's finished. Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2. So a good start for Arne Slot. Probably a bit of a learning curve this afternoon for Ipswich. They were terrific in the first half, had 3 chances, didn't take them, and then it was a different Liverpool in the second 45 minutes. Slot made a change at half-time. Konate came on for Kwanzaa, and as I say, they were a different proposition. Before the goal came, they went close to Diaz, Sloboslai, McAllister. Jota flicked a header wide. Then the first goal. Alexander-Arnold played in Salah on the right-hand side. He whipped it across to Diego Jota, who finished from 10 yards out. 5 minutes later, Sloboslai played in Mo Salah, 7 yards out, and he nudged it into the bottom left-hand corner. If we're being honest, it should have been more. Mo Salah should have added a third. Walton then denied him late on, and also Conor Bradley. Mark Warburton's been alongside me. Good start for Liverpool. What will Ipswich take from this?
I think your point is key, the change after half-time, John. First half, superb. They matched it. They came out. They really caused Liverpool some problems, and the fans would have been delighted at half-time. But that ability to step up 1-2 gears